लाइफ में लेना देना तो चलता रहता है। इधर फ्लेक्सी लोन से बोरो कर लिया और उधर बाय मॉम डैड का वेकेशन डन। शादी का डिसीजन लिया, फ्लेक्सी लोन से और बोरो किया। प्रमोशन मिला तो ये लो थोड़ा लोन वापस कर दिया, थैंक यू। नए इंटीरियर्स का दिल किया, फ्लेक्सी लोन से फिर थोड़ा ले लिया। ईयर एंड बोनस मिला तो इस बार लोन ज्यादा वापस कर दिया। लाइफ में लेना देना चलता रहेगा तो लोन्स में क्यों नहीं। इसीलिए फ्लेक्सी लोन फ्रॉम बजाज फिनसर्व एक ऐसा लोन जो जब चाहे बोरो करे, जैसे चाहे रीपे करे, वो भी चुटकी में। थिंक इट डन विद बजाज फिनसर्व।
हेलो, हर सीजन के लिए नए इंटीरियर्स।
हाँ, वो भी हर रूम के लिए।
फ्रिज, स्मार्टफोन या बड़ा टीवी,
तीनों क्यों नहीं?
अरे ये तो शॉपिंग लिस्ट में नहीं था।
सो अब शॉपिंग कार्ट में तो है। सॉरी।
अच्छा, नए आउटफिट्स की विश लिस्ट।
विश क्यों? जस्ट ऐड टू कार्ट एंड बाय।
तो ये सब ईएमआई पे,
और वो भी चुटकी में। ऑन इंडियाज फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग ईएमआई नेटवर्क। थिंक इट डन विद बजाज फिनसर्व।
सर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। साहब, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। हुजूर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता।
अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान।
अपनों को खुशियां दिलाना आसान नहीं बनाते तो आगे कैसे बढ़ते। इसीलिए हम जो भी करते हैं उसे बेहतर बनाते आ रहे हैं, बनाते रहेंगे। बजाज फिनसर्व, थिंक इट डन।
माँ के बेडरूम का एसी या लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई, लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई, लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई। पुणे, पटना, चेन्नई, मथुरा या फिर बेगूसराय,
या फिर बेगूसराय।
नए घर के लिए चाहिए 4K टीवी हाई फाई, या फिर वाइफ को चाहिए लेटेस्ट स्टाइल। EMI है ना, EMI है ना, EMI।
मॉड्यूलर किचन में पुराना फ्रिज क्यों है भाई?
शादी है नहीं, मैट्रेस पुराना है भाई। अक्खा इंडिया बोले भाई प्राइजेस है हाई। बेस्ट ही खरीदना है तो अपने EMI स्टोर पर आए।
EMI है ना, EMI।
अब काशी हो या वाशी, महंगा लगी तो EMI और बेस्ट ही चाहिए तो भी EMI, क्योंकि बजाज फिनसर्व का EMI है ना। विजिट www.emistore.com।
EMI है ना, EMI है ना, EMI।
नाची 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 नाची। धोखा है धोखा, धोखा ना खाओ जी। नाची 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 नाची। इंश्योरेंस फ्रॉड से बचना है बहुत जरूरी जी। नाची 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 नाची। वो एजेंट है या फ्रॉड पता लगाओ जी। एक्स्ट्रा ऑफर के झांसे में कहीं फंस ना जाओ जी।
अगर कोई अनजान कॉलर इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी डिटेल्स मांगे तो कह देना उनको मिलके स्कैम को एंड करो, हमेशा सेफ रहो जी। Always verify the caller and do not surrender your insurance for attractive offers. हमेशा सावधान रहे, सेफ रहे। Issued in the interest of public awareness by Bajaj Finserv.
नाची 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 नाची। धोखा है धोखा, धोखा ना खाओ जी। नाची 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 नाची। जो होगा सो होगा ऐसे ना सोचो जी कॉल पे कोई पूछे ओटीपी दो ना जी
तो कह देना उनको
मिलके स्कैम को एंड करो हमेशा सेफ रहो जी
Being a hero is all about heart. It's not about ruling the world. It's about owning it. It's not about winning a race. It's about delivering a smile to the human race. It's about a spirit that just cannot be confined by geographies. It's about the heart that beats for the future and a soul that echoes the values of generations. And yet, being a hero is never about the hero. It's about the millions who celebrate them. Hero Motorcorp, the motorcycle leader. There's a gush of wind that hums a sweet song. There's a gush of wind that fights like a hero to fill the world with possibility. There's a gush of wind that jumps across oceans and mountains, embracing the entire planet. There's a gush of wind that blows away darkness. There's a gush of wind that blows for humanity. Because at Hero, we care.
In 1868, the Tata Group was founded on a philosophy that put the community at the heart of its existence. Today, we are $100 billion global enterprise. Our today has been built on enduring values. Is about delivering excellence across business sectors. Is about building a future-ready nation. Our today has a strong foundation with community at its core. today is dedicated to the communities we serve. Our today is always about more than just today. Our today is a continuous journey for a better tomorrow. Tata, leadership with trust.
Behold, the story of victory, of life over malady. Behold the saga of power, of science over sickness. Behold the tale of triumph, of dedication over disease. Behold the rise and rise of Cadila Pharmaceuticals Limited, one of India's largest privately held pharmaceutical companies based out of Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India. Cadila Pharmaceuticals was born out of the vision of a legend who left an indelible mark in the chronicles of Indian pharmaceuticals industry. He was Indravadan Ambalal Modi, the founder chairman of the company, rightfully christened as the medicine man of India. His vision to alleviate pain of the underprivileged through research-driven innovations has been driving Cadila Pharmaceuticals for more than 6 decades now. Innovations which are backed by the key strengths of the company, the state-of-the-art manufacturing and research facilities. The flagship manufacturing facility at Dholka, Gujarat, sprawls over 100 acres. This avant-garde facility is US FDA approved, besides meeting most of the stringent quality standards across the globe. It manufactures tablets, capsules, injectables, liquids, and orals. The second formulations manufacturing facility is located at Samba in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The API facilities at Ankleshwar, Gujarat, manufacture a large number of key APIs and intermediates at this US FDA and ISO 9002 and ISO 14001 accredited plant. The company also has set up its first ever overseas formulation manufacturing facility at Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. This world-class facility is the only WHO CGMP compliant manufacturing facility in the region. More than 850 products spread across 12 specialties with many of India's top brands in its basket. Great goals are defined by far-sighted vision and achieved by seamless teamwork. A multicultural, multilingual and multinational workforce of over 7,000 employees is truly the propelling power of the company. Not just in the domestic market, the company has a wide global footprint with over 1,000 marketing authorizations across 85 countries. Its international sales force of over 150 highly diversified and versatile personnel lends it an outreach that blankets the globe. As the company grows, so does its commitment to research. Manned by more than 350 scientists, the R&D facilities of Cadila Pharmaceuticals at Dholka, Gujarat is an institution of breakthrough innovations. To take the focus on innovation to the next level, it partners with leading international companies to discover newer treatments. The Cadila Pharmaceuticals Group is gigantic. Its group companies complement and expand the dynamic vision of the company across new avenues of healthcare and newer fast-paced business areas. Cadila Pharmaceuticals is a gentle giant. Decades of dedicated research, groundbreaking healthcare innovations, and worldwide impact proves the infinite potential of one powerful emotion. Care. The success of Cadila Pharmaceuticals bears testimony to the fact that the care continues.
आने वाले कल की दस्तक हमें सुनाई देती है, नई मंजिल है जिस ओर हमें वो दिशा दिखाई देती है। नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए इंडिया का नया जोश, नए जोश से निकल पड़े हम, आने वाला कल होगा हमारा। नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
और नए इंडिया के सफर में टेक्नोलॉजी की शक्ति लेकर आपका भागीदार रहेगा रिलायंस। नए इंडिया का नया जोश।
लाइफ में लेना देना तो चलता रहता है। इधर फ्लेक्सी लोन से बोरो कर लिया और उधर बाय मॉम डैड का वेकेशन डन। शादी का डिसीजन लिया, फ्लेक्सी लोन से और बोरो किया। प्रमोशन मिला तो ये लो थोड़ा लोन वापस कर दिया, थैंक यू। नए इंटीरियर्स का डील किया, फ्लेक्सी लोन से फिर थोड़ा ले लिया। ईयर एंड बोनस मिला तो इस बार लोन ज्यादा वापस कर दिया। लाइफ में लेना देना चलता रहेगा तो लोन्स में क्यों नहीं। इसीलिए फ्लेक्सी लोन फ्रॉम बजाज फिनसर्व एक ऐसा लोन जो जब चाहे बोरो करे, जैसे चाहे रीपे करे, वो भी चुटकी में। थिंक इट डन विद बजाज फिनसर्व।
हेलो, हर सीजन के लिए नए इंटीरियर्स?
हाँ, वो भी हर रूम के लिए।
फ्रिज, स्मार्टफोन या बड़ा टीवी?
तीनों क्यों नहीं?
अरे ये तो शॉपिंग लिस्ट में नहीं था।
सो अब शॉपिंग कार्ट में तो है। सॉरी।
अच्छा, नए आउटफिट्स की विश लिस्ट।
विश क्यों? जस्ट ऐड टू कार्ट एंड बाय।
तो ये सब ईएमआई पे?
और वो भी चुटकी में। On India's fastest growing EMI network. Think it, done with Bajaj Finserv.
सर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। साहब, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता। हुजूर, अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान हो ही नहीं सकता।
अपनों को खुश रखना इससे आसान।
अपनों को खुशियां दिलाना आसान नहीं बनाते तो आगे कैसे बढ़ते। इसीलिए हम जो भी करते हैं उसे बेहतर बनाते आ रहे हैं, बनाते रहेंगे। बजाज फिनसर्व, थिंक इट, डन।
माँ के बेडरूम का एसी या लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई, लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई, लेटेस्ट मोबाइल फॉर भाई। पुणे, पटना, चेन्नई, मथुरा या फिर बेगूसराय,
या फिर बेगूसराय।
नए घर के लिए चाहिए 4K टीवी हाई फाई, या फिर वाइफ को चाहिए लेटेस्ट स्टाइल। EMI है ना, EMI है ना, EMI।
मॉड्यूलर किचन में पुराना फ्रिज क्यों है भाई?
शादी है नहीं, मैट्रेस पुराना है वाई। अक्खा इंडिया बोले भाई प्राइजेस है हाई, बेस्ट ही खरीदना है तो अपने EMI स्टोर पर आए।
EMI है ना, EMI।
अब काशी हो या वाशी, महंगा लगे तो EMI और बेस्ट ही चाहिए तो भी EMI, क्योंकि बजाज फिनसर्व का EMI है ना। विजिट www.emistore.com।
EMI है ना, EMI है ना, EMI।
नाची 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 नाची। धोखा है धोखा, धोखा ना खाओ जी। नाची 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 नाची। इंश्योरेंस फ्रॉड से बचना है बहुत जरूरी।
Chairman, you are live now.
Okay. Good morning and namaste, ladies and gentlemen, and a very special welcome to the 27th edition of the CII Partnership Summit 2021 and to the session on future mobility. My address today will touch on why the automotive sector needs to, 1, play a key role in tackling climate change, and 2, possible ways for the automotive sector to move towards net zero. Extreme events such as destructive wildfires, floods are causing loss of life and damage that exceeds our capacity to cope. And climate change is a big threat to humanity, and we are fighting against time to limit the spike to an average of 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels as pledged in the Paris Agreement for climate change. This requires 30 gigatons of greenhouse gas emissions to be cut by 2030. Our cities are also recording unprecedented levels of pollution, 50% of which is contributed by vehicular emission. And today, between 65 to 80% of emissions from an automobile come from tailpipe emissions, and the industry is understandably focused on electrifying powertrains to mitigate this. However, to achieve net zero carbon, industry must turn their attention to raw material emissions. As tailpipe emissions decrease, emissions from vehicles' materials will increase both absolutely and relatively, and soon become a larger share of life cycle emissions. Higher vehicular pollution is also a byproduct of congestion due to heavy traffic, and therefore to reduce harmful and greenhouse gases, transforming to zero emission mobility may not be enough. There needs to be equal emphasis to reduce congestion, as I'd mentioned, by promoting multimodal mass transit, making them seamless, affordable, convenient, and comfortable. 5 possible areas in the automotive manufacturing ecosystem that could help the cause of net zero are as follows. 1, automating existing processes to drive efficiency and reduce wastage. 2, using low carbon energy sources like renewables, solar and wind. 3, material substitution and lightweighting with innovative structures, honeycomb as an example. 4, adopting new technologies that reduce process emissions, additive manufacturing. And 5, increased use of recycled materials and recycling a greater share of materials. India is witnessing a growing popularity of EVs amongst the existing and new vehicle owners. EV sales are gradually going up and is currently at a trajectory where we can expect a significant number of new four-wheelers and two-wheelers sold in the passenger segment from the electric vehicles by 2025-26. And that's a big step forward towards clean mobility in India. In the commercial vehicle segment where I come from, LCV and intracity buses are likely to see the shift to electric vehicles in the near to mid-term future. While battery electric vehicles are one of the preferences in the sphere of clean mobility, technologies such as hydrogen fuel cells and alternative fuels, CNG, LNG, biofuels are slowly getting prominence as well. It's important to mention that CII is technologically agnostic and promotes all clean and zero emission mobility technology. Over the last couple of years, the government of India has not only made efforts to make zero emission mobility available and affordable to the Indian consumers, but it's also making efforts to ensure that the complete ecosystem is elevated and transformed to support the increasing urgency to go green. Faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and EV population, known as the FAME 1 and 2 schemes, is one such initiative taken by the Union government to promote electrical mobility in India. This has seen a tremendous traction. Commendable work has also been done by the various state governments, where they not only have adopted the policy to promote electric mobility, but they've also added more impetus to promote the EV ecosystem. To aggregate demand, many states have planned to phase out older vehicles and transform their fleet to EVs. Some state-owned transport corporations have also taken similar steps. In addition, they are also working to improve the availability of public charging points by making land available for this purpose. Some states have also incentivized the industry to promote manufacturing EV components in India, such as mobility battery packs. To further understand what future mobility in India means, let me refer to the Honorable Prime Minister's idea, which is based on 7 C's: common, connected, convenient, congestion-free, charged, clean, and cutting-edge mobility. This broadly highlights that mobility in India should be affordable, connected to each other, and various other mobility services focus on mass transportation to reduce congestion on the road by promoting public transportation and making them convenient to all. Availability of the first and last mile connectivity, and of course, clean mobility with cutting-edge technology in every aspect of mobility. Therefore, to further elaborate on the idea of future mobility and to deliberate its importance, we have with us a wonderful panel that represents the very future mobility. It is with great pleasure that I invite our panelists today, not in any particular order, Mr. Diego Graffi, CEO and MD, Piaggio Vehicles Private Limited, Mr. Tarun Mehta, founder and CEO, Aether Energy, Mr. Swadesh Kumar Srivastav, business head, Emerging Mobility, Hero Motocorp, and Mr. Avdesh Jha, executive director, Fortum Charge and Drive India Private Limited. May I request the panelists to give their opening thoughts in the same sequence as I've read out the names on future mobility for a maximum time of 5 minutes, following which we will open the house for Q&A. May I start with you, Diego?
Yeah, thank you, Vipin. Thank you for the amazing introduction. Thanks for inviting me to this panel discussion today. I think the topic is, let me say, the topic of the day or the topic of the year, so as to say. Definitely, before starting from the future, let's have just a quick look at what was, let me say, the outlook of the last 12, 18 months for the entire automotive industry in India. As I'm used to say, I think that 2021 mainly, as for all of us, has been a sort of perfect storm, in the sense that all the possible challenges and all the possible headwinds that we are putting us at stake, we have seen starting from, definitely consequence of pandemic, the second wave, continuing with challenges in terms of raw material, commodity prices going up, continue with cost of transportation and freight charges going sky high, cost of fuel, diesel, petrol, pan-India going again sky high. So definitely all these have had a big hit on internal demand for all sectors. But on the other side, looking at the matter more positively, I think that all this factor has further contributed to give and to enhance the boost for entire industry to move to electric mobility and to move to different kind of or advanced technology kind of powertrain applied to vehicle. You've been mentioned some of them, like for example, alternative fuel, EV, hydrogen, but not only that. Let me say there are a lot of talks in terms of ethanol applied in substitution of petrol. So I think that if you want to look at the matter on a positive side, as I said, all the challenges that we have seen during last year has given us again more motivation to invest in the future and to convert for future of mobility. Definitely on this respect, the big push coming from central and local government authorities in terms of incentives, in terms of subsidies, in terms of policies, have further helped to move and to further speed up the transition to this kind of solutions. And I think that in the mid-long term, the combination of both aspects that are definitely the continuation of the challenges that we have seen this year, combined with the, support and with the clear direction and guideline coming from all authorities for OEM to move into, at least in the direction of electric, but also looking forward in perspective to other kind of technology, clean technology, respectful of environment, and also respectful of the need of customer in terms of total cost of ownership, will give us definitely a bright future. It is a matter of fact that for the sector in which we as a company, as Piaggio, are involved at three-wheeler and two-wheeler, definitely we have seen an impressive increase of percentage of share of sales coming from electric solutions. For what is concerned us, for example, now more than 10-15% of the sales that we do on a monthly basis are in three-wheeler space are electric. That means that I don't think that we need to talk about future. Future is here already. Future is today. And so whoever was thinking that we still have time to think, to invest in this kind of technology, definitely has lost his bet, because the transition has come upon us with a lot of power, and we do not have to lose the pace with it and take all the possible efforts to be in line with that. Just a couple of points that I want to mention before concluding my opening remark is that definitely if you want to continue with and take advantage of this boost, there are a few points that we need to take care going forward. One point is related to, as you mentioned also, Vipin, the infrastructure point of view. So it's not only, let me say, it's not enough to have OEM invest into this kind of technology if we do not have, for example, for electric mobility, an effective and diffuse infrastructure for recharging, depending if it is for battery swap or if it is for fixed battery. The second challenge definitely is coming from localization of components. I think that the cost of a technology and the availability of technology and solution in India is still a challenge for a lot of players. So if you want to take advantage of this trend, we need to have a coordinated and massive investment coming from supply chain, always with support coming from OEM and government, to have a full localization of components and parts here in India that will help both in reducing the lead time for supply, and on the other side also to reduce the manufacturing cost. So if these two things are going to happen, I think that, as I said, future is not future, but future is even more today.
Thank you, Diego. Positive as always. The future is today. We don't have to look very far, and that we've got challenges of infrastructure and localization of parts. Thank you very much, Diego. We'll be back with questions for you. Can I ask Tarun now for his opening remarks?
Hi. Thank you, Vipin, for calling me in. So, morning, everybody. Pleasure to be here. As we have already been introduced, the EV space is in a pretty amazing time right now. We haven't seen so much activity. I think in Ather's life, what we've seen the last 7 years and what we've seen the last 1 year, probably like it's still not comparable. What we've seen the last 12 months of activity. I want to say that there are two things that are driving the industry change, and none of them is actually technology. Technology has been actually at a pretty reasonable level for the last several years now, which is why a lot of folks in the industry have been able to see that electrification is imminent. The scale has been there, the cost structures have been there, the viability has been there. But the two fundamental things that have changed the last 12 months. One is obviously government and policy support, and it's not an ad hoc support. It's not like one thing that happened. It's not like one bureaucrat who woke up one day and decided that electric is the right thing for the environment. It's been a concentrated push. It's been an overall green energy push that's been led by the central government, and that cutting across party lines, almost all states have started embracing for a variety of reasons. Immensely over the last 12 months. But the central government's been actually pushing this for the last 4-5 years. I would almost argue to the point that maybe there's a reason petrol prices are still high. Maybe there's a reason GST has not come down on traditional vehicles, right? Obviously, the government needs the money, but I think the government is also trying to see if that pushes electrification and new forms of transportation faster in the market. So there is a small silver lining that the government is definitely seeing here, and it's unlikely to stop. And because of this, the second big thing that's changed is customer mindset. Uh, when we began putting out our vehicles 3 years back in the market, I think the biggest thing that we are worried about is that people won't take us seriously. People won't take electric seriously. People will walk in expecting like a small toy, right? So I remember discussing with the teams that we've got to invest a lot of money in our experience center, make sure it looks very legitimate. People shouldn't think like this is a startup. People should almost not even get to know that this is an Indian company. They should keep imagining this is a European brand. This is a hi-fi MNC, right? Like so spend a lot of money in the experience centers because otherwise they won't take us seriously. Fast forward 3 years, we're now seeing a completely different customer walk in. Most customers walking in are expecting electric to be an upgrade for them. They are expecting electric to have like some very advanced technology, like like it'll fly itself, it'll ride itself, like whatever new thing they have heard. If it's digital, if it's on performance, if it's on software, they're expecting that to be an electric. So lots of expectations to sort of stand against, but that basically means customers are coming in expecting to be wowed, and that's really helping the cause of electric. They're coming in with a serious image and an expectation, and that's really helping the cause of electric today. Between these two, we have seen a massive surge in the last 12 months. The industry is growing by incredible percentages every month. I think most companies are seeing between 10 to 20% month-on-month growth. Last month, I believe roughly about 25,000 fast electric scooters and about 45,000 regular electric two-wheelers were sold. That's already starting to approach meaningful volume in this country. And we've not even scratched the surface. Like most launches are still ahead of us in the next year in the industry. Legacy players are yet to come in. The industry is fundamentally moved from creating new customers. If I may say, I would say the industry till last year was in the Tesla Roadster phase, which is, I don't think we can sell to regular petrol buyers. Let's find new buyers who wouldn't have bought vehicles in the past, and let's sell something different to them. Let's sell a vehicle that does not need registration, or let's sell a vehicle that's super advanced and super futuristic that somebody who would have never bought a scooter in the first place would buy. Fast forward now, I think now the industry is of substitution. Find petrol buyers and give them electric. And which is why I think the growth rates are just going to be enormous over the next few years. This, as Diego also said, brings about a few challenges. I would probably call them opportunities because we're seeing these challenges getting resolved pretty rapidly, primarily on the supply chain. There is just an incredible amount of supply chain buildup that we are staring at as an industry. All two-wheelers going electric in this decade, and with some nominal two-wheeler market growth, the industry will likely need about 120 gigawatt hour of lithium-ion cell production in India. To give context, that's roughly 3 Tesla gigafactories, and that's just for the two-wheeler industry alone, right? Once you add passenger cars to it, once you add trucks, buses, all forms of other transportation, the national demand will be in excess of 300 gigawatt hours. We're nowhere close to even talking about that kind of a supply today in India. So setting up that kind of a supply chain, setting up that kind of capacity for cells for 20-30 million drive motors for electronics at that quantum, no electronics manufacturer today in the country is producing at even reasonably similar to the scale of what the two-wheeler industry will need in the next few years for electrification. It's in fact starting to approach points where a lot of us have started thinking that you would actually justify pushing companies to make fab investments in India, given the kind of EMS volume that's going to come their way. So I think we're headed in a very exciting place. Lots of capacity build up ahead of us for the industry. I think that this decade is probably going to be the most transformational in the last 50, 60 years of Indian auto.
Okay. Arun, very interesting that you talk about the customer mindset change. Quite amazing what you've been able to achieve. And the fact that government policy across party lines, whether it's central or state, continue to encourage EVs. Capacity build-up, I think both Diego mentioned, you've mentioned, and this is one bus that we shouldn't miss. Metaphorically, enormous opportunity to really, really set up world-class supply-based capacity as happened in IC engines 20, 25 years ago. Thank you, Tarun. We'll come back to you. Swadesh, over to you for your opening comments.
Thank you, Vipin, and thank you everyone for organizing this. I think it's important some of us get together and sort of talk about what is happening, celebrating that, but also what's in front of us. And from Hero MotoCorp, we definitely see that the next decade, as Tarun also mentioned, is going to be very, very critical, not just in EV, but also in other forms of innovation in the future of mobility, right? For us, what the future of mobility means is basically innovation in various value chain nodes of mobility, not just products, but also services, and not just B2C, but a lot of demand and traction is happening in the B2B world as well. And also not for us, not just in passenger, but even beyond. So I think we are looking at our mission behind the future of mobility way beyond where we might have acted and operated in the past. And obviously, electric is a big portion of it as the current need in the market. I think some of the things, lot of interesting points which have come through Diego and Tarun around customer mindset change, the need for localization. What I see is that also some significant players are coming in the market, and next 1 or 2 years is going to be quite significant in how more options in front of the customers are going to be put. I think customers were devoid of options, and that was also one of the factors. The traction was not happening, and I think I see that if anything, the customers are going to win in the next few years because they'll see great healthy competition, variety of products and services coming from different players. And I think with all the support which the government has provided so far with the subsidy, and also we are in talks on various other policies, which is going to, whether it's about charging infrastructure or swapping, a lot of these are going to help adoption at a scale. I think that's where we are. I think, as Tarun mentioned, the early question marks around electric mobility have been answered. I still believe that more options to the customer needs to be provided in the market. But I think those early concerns are gone. And now with the right type of partnership between government and companies and the setup of the supply chain, I think we are entering into that scale up phase pretty soon. So I think what is important, like the forum like these, and we bring other industry players into the mix, is that we look at the next phase of capability building in the industry and in the policy. And some of that has been already mentioned, which is around whether it's cells or motors or components need to be produced in India. And I think along with that, I think we need to also focus on talent building in the country, because I was just having a chat with somebody in just the last couple of days that hiring a world-class talent for some of the specific areas, technology areas for EV and for other new advanced technologies in India is still pretty hard. So I think it might take some time, but we need to sort of focus on building the right talent within the country as well. So I'm very excited what is ahead of us for Hero MotoCorp and for the industry in general, and looking forward to partner, collaborate with all of you, whether it's about setting up right policies and infrastructure for the industry, or anything more direct. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Swadesh. So building partnerships seems to be critical going forward. Also talent building, and you're right, in the country we need more and more talent and more opportunity to move forward. But you feel that customers' early concerns have now gone. Thank you. We'll be back, Swadesh. Over to you, Avdesh, for your opening remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Bipin, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think for any new technology, and EV is also a new technological product, it has to go through its adoption cycle, and which comprises of starting from innovators to early adopters to early majority to the late majority and the laggards. So in various parts of the world, EV has gone through these phases, and I would say that Norway, it's almost now at the late majority level where 85% of annual sales happening on the electric. In India, we can say that it has already passed the first phase, that is of innovators, and it has already entered into the early adopters. Thanks to, I mean, couple of people sitting in this panel who have been in this industry for last 5-7 years, and who have made these products available to the customer. But what we believe that India is positioned very sweetly, in the sense that though it has started its journey on electrifications quite late compared to the world, but it has the advantage that they can learn from their failings, their mistakes, and accordingly adapt, and also the learnings of their success, and they can adapt the technology as which suits the Indian customers, the Indian market, and that's where we have very good advantage. And since because of the large customer base, India is very much positioned that it can very early be the early majority of the global mass market. So essentially, what do we need in order to get this e-mobility mass adopted is basically that we need to create an ecosystem. We need to enable the ecosystems in the form of a ubiquitous public charging networks, so that everybody can see the charging in stations from their own eyes. Particularly for the four-wheelers, it is very important. Incidentally, in this panel, there is no OEM from the four-wheeler side, except for Bipin himself representing the commercial vehicle. But then I can speak for the four-wheeler passenger vehicle segment. So the charging infrastructure for the four-wheeler passenger vehicle segment is very, very important. Then, we need to strengthen our electricity infrastructure, upstream electricity infrastructure. That's again very important element. And the third element is that whatever chargers equipment we are manufacturing, be it for two-wheelers, be it for four-wheelers, it should be future-proof. And that's where we believe that these are the systems where the government is taking the shapes. So obviously, government through their different policies like FAME and all, enabling these provisions of demand side. But on the supply side, the charging infrastructure, electricity, that's where also the government has to start giving much more push towards that one. Especially this public charging infrastructure becomes very, very important for a country like India, which is very densely populated and where space is a premium. So here, utilization of even a single unit of a space by more number of vehicles, that should form the national priorities. So that's we believe, and this has been not only this my assessment, but this is also, it has been analyzed by the different agencies like the International Energy Agencies or McKinsey. They have come out with these reports that the country like India and China require more and more public charging network. It also gets corroborated from the fact that if you evaluate the numbers of charging stations catered in the different countries like Norway, Netherlands, US, China, you will see that the more the populated country is, per square kilometer of more population is, they have a dense charging network. And that's what and India is much more populated than these cities and these countries. So obviously, we require a very large, dense network of the public charging infrastructure. The another thing what we believe is that on the charger OEM side, that since the battery electric vehicle has come a long way, and the different OEMs, particularly on the four-wheeler side, the OEMs are now pumping more and more energy into the battery so that the people can have the similar experience as they are driving on the ICE vehicles, because so they want to give them the similar experience in terms of the drive, in terms of the fueling and all those things. So essentially the average size of the battery, if you see on the four-wheeler side globally, has moved from 20-25 kilowatt hour to now 60 kilowatt hour. Incidentally, in India, it is still 30-40 because we are very early stage. But then the trend is very clear that we are moving towards the higher battery capacity in the vehicles. So what essentially it means that you require a higher capacity of chargers to charge them in a very shorter time. So what, and obviously you can't invest in those infrastructure right now. So what is required is that we should have a chargers which is capable of modular scaling. You know that you require today 60 kilowatt chargers for a public charging stations, perfectly fine. But 2 years, 3 years down the line, when you have more and more vehicles coming from the different mainstream manufacturers having a 80 kilowatt battery or 100 kilowatt battery, then you will be requiring the same charging stations to be upgraded to 120 or 150 kilowatt. So this modularity on the charger side is very important, because then it will make them future proof for the charge point operator. So that's one. The second is that, you know, once you invest in the public charging infrastructure, what essentially we are doing is that we are reducing the load on the electricity grid. You know, this might sound contrary, but this is very true, because the one single charger of 60 kilowatt or 100 kilowatt can cater to 10 or 20 number of cars. Whereas if you have to install the similar amount of the charging experience in the home, then you will have to have 100 cars. Every cars will have to have a 7 kilowatt chargers. So around 700 kilowatt power you require, whereas here you will be requiring by 100 kilowatt power. You know, so the electricity infrastructure cost will go down, and that's what a country like India requires, because we need the resource optimizations on whatever infrastructure we create. So I think these are the couple of things which we should definitely look at. And another element which I believe is very much required in future is that the charger itself should be the payment terminal. You know, today every charge point operator has their own PSP and everything, and they have a credit card, debit card, wallet and all. But if the charger itself can integrate the POS, and those POS gives them the flexibility that you swipe your credit card, debit card or wallet, whatever it is, and then you go and charge at any station. So that will be a perfect interoperability for the end customer. So I think these are the three things which will definitely usher us into the future mobility. And that's where I will take a pause, and I'll be happy to have any follow-up questions, Bipin. Back to you, Bipin.
Thank you, Avdesh. Very interesting that the one payment to be made at the charging point. The second, of course, is scalability or modular scalability from 40 to 60 to 80 to 120 kilowatts. Chargers to be made future-proof, and they'll actually reduce the load on the grid, which is counterintuitive, as you said. Very interesting. Okay, may I also request the audience to post their questions and answers on Hive? We open to questions and answers, and I'll pick them up. But till that happens, let me start with Tarun. You obviously came in with the big boys all around you, and you've taken them on. When did these thoughts start coming to you that you won the complete conviction that you could take it on and disrupt and compete with the big people, but also that EV was the right way to go?
Vipin, this is, I would say, sometime in 2012. We were trying to think through, we wanted to build an energy company, and we were trying to think through what would be a good entry point in the market. Batteries seemed pretty exciting. And so we were literally trying to find an application for batteries. And that's where electric vehicles popped up as a possible interesting area. And as we dug in deeper and deeper, we're quite surprised that electric vehicles make so much sense, but somehow we don't have enough of them on roads in India. Then looked across the border, and China was already full of them. This is 2013. So that kind of started convincing us that there's going to be a massive market for EVs in India. And but colored by our times, every EV back then on the road was using a lead acid battery. So we thought the opportunity is that obviously people will build vehicles, all the good brands will build them, but maybe they'll build with these lead acid batteries, and maybe the opportunity for us is to build lithium-ion batteries and do retrofits post-purchase. So funny, that's where Ather started from. So we started doing that, and very quickly realized that it's a nightmare of a business model to try and retrofit vehicles post purchase. So maybe it is a better path to just build those vehicles ourselves. And so to simplify our lives, we thought building vehicles would be an easier step. And that's how we landed up here.
Fantastic, great conviction, and then you're backing it up as well, which is great. Diego, could you bring in the European perspective as well and see what kind of similarities or what can be the learnings over here? Also, obviously, the question that's often asked is what is the future of IC engines in, let's say, in your industry, and how long will that go?
Okay, I start from the very first question. But definitely, I can attest this that the boost for electrification and the move to electrification of mobility in India has nearly nullified the gap in terms of contents, features, performance of vehicle that were still there in the ICE scenario between India and European market. So having, at least for, let me say, until a couple of years ago, it was quite difficult to see in a vehicle manufactured in India, mainly a scooter or a three-wheeler, let me say, running on European road. I think that this gap has been nullified with the transition to electric. And not a mystery that I think most of the big players among which Piaggio are looking at India as a future global manufacturing hub for electric vehicles with all the number of wheels possible, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and four-wheeler, for the future, not only for obviously for domestic needs of India, but also for export to Europe, USA, and whatever it is, because now the availability of the technology for electric is, how to say, is there. As I said, the push from government, India government, and the incentive and the contribution for investment in the field is definitely the highest available worldwide. And this, I think, is creating very fertile ground so that India can take the step going forward to be the number one country globally to produce and to export electric vehicles. This is at least the perspective that we see. Coming to the second question, what is the future of ICE vehicle? But my view is that we have to be rational and realistic and exclude any hypothesis that electric will kill ICE in the next couple of years, at least for the segment in which we are playing. The most probable scenario will see coexistence of the various powertrain solution. I'm personally against, not in favor, any kind of mandate in order to ban any kind of powertrain solution. I think that players, we as a player, we have to be agnostic in terms of powertrain and provide to customer the solution that is more suitable for his needs, his expectation, his business needs, or his personal needs. So I presume that at least for the next 3-5 years, we will have for sure higher penetration of electric or alternative fuel or ethanol or any kind of alternative fuel solution that will coexist with the traditional solution, at least for what is concerned, at least Piaggio, for sure, petrol, CNG, diesel, so the solution of which we have invested a lot also for the transition to Bharat 6.
The importance of being agnostic, and I think we're also talking to the government that leave it to us to decide which powertrain, which fuel we want to use. So that's extremely interesting. And the fact that IC engines will continue to coexist with EVs and other powertrains as well. Sudesh, you've talked a lot about capability building, and one of the important things, and I know that Hero does it a lot, is how do we actually build talent at all levels, because we need to create future employment as well as things shift. Are there any thoughts that you have as a company in terms of at least capability building at levels which are, let's say, more more at the lower end of the spectrum in terms of skill building. Swadesh, are you on mute? We can't hear you. Not yet. No, we can't hear you. We'll come back to you, Swadesh. Let's see if we can fix that. Avdesh, let's move on. Let's move on to you as well. What is, you said chargers to be made or charging stations to be made future-proof and therefore should be modular. Well within the realm of possibility, and is it happening in other parts of the world, and how should we be doing it?
Yeah, so Bipin, I think this is already a reality. Especially, I will take the examples from the Nordic, where we operate, as our parent company comes from that region. Already we are setting up a chargers which is capable of scaling it up to 350 kilowatt power capacity. And so what we are doing currently, because most of the vehicles which is coming now in the European side is requiring power close to 150 kilowatt. There are a few vehicles which requires even 250 kilowatt power. The battery can accept without having any problem on the battery management side. So what we are doing, that we are setting up a chargers which is capable of scaling up to 350, but right now we are restricting it to 175 kilowatt. So that when the more volumes of the vehicles coming up requiring 200 or 250 kilowatt power, then the same chargers can be augmented with additional 2 modules, which can give it to another 175 megawatt power, kilowatt power. So that's already happening in the other part of the world. In India, this can happen. I mean, obviously this can happen, but only challenge is in India on the regulatory side, because there is a fixed demand concept in India where when you take the connections, then you need to pay a fixed demand charges. Though most of the states currently under the EV tariff, they are not levying those fixed demand charges, but then there are various states which are still continuing with those fixed charges. Now, the fixed charge is something which will be detrimental for these kind of a modular, I would say, because if you go and create entire infrastructure for those 300 kilowatt power, but then you have to take the connections for 150 kilowatt. That's where we need to see on the regulatory side that if this can also be addressed, that yes, the contract demand can be subsequently augmented, and it is not insisted upon that yes, once at single point of time you should go for a 300 kilowatt. But this is quite possible. And then fortunately, we are talking to a couple of manufacturers in the OEM on the charger side, and they are willing to take this road, that yes, they will build the chargers which can give the modular capabilities. So this will be a reality, very soon, maybe 6 months, 1 year down the line.
Okay, that's pretty soon then. So things obviously moving quickly. Swadesh, can we hear you?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Would you like to respond to that question?
Yes. So, yeah. So actually, internally we are identifying what are the new skill sets and talent types which the businesses and the products of future of mobility needs. And I think and we are working closely with our tech center in Germany as well to sort of fill those gaps. And I think lot of collaboration with the research institutes, with the educational institutes, and emphasizing what are the needs from the industry, from players like us, to these institutes, so that those type of capability building can happen right from the institutes. I think it's definitely needed, but I think a lot of ownership has to come within the company as well. So we'll have to set up training programs and prototype centers and various other things, not just on product but also on the retail side, because a lot of new methods have to be devised, whether it's customer experience, retail experience. So we are doing a lot in developing these sort of capability and training within, but also looking to partner with the institutes, with startup accelerators, and creating those partnerships. So I think that's definitely there at a scale. I think I see a lot of institutes, and I see at IIT Madras as well. A lot of effort has gone, I think, in the last few years, trying to build these courses and training modules, which not just the students of those institutes, but anybody from outside is able to sign up. So I think all of this internally building these capabilities and training and growth scenarios, and also partnering with the institutes, I think that's going to really help in and collaborating not just within India, but also to wherever the tech talent or the experience is there in the world. So I just mentioned about we looking at other countries in Europe and US.
No, I agree with you, and you see a lot of work going on, as you mentioned, in IIT Madras, which is good. But that is really moving on to provide our people proper jobs and skill jobs, which I think industry has to take a leadership in, along with educational institutions.
Yeah.
Okay, one question that always comes up is on range anxiety, the anxiety about range. And Tarun, Avdesh, would you like to comment on that?
Okay, I guess I'll go first. I think there is an interesting dynamic that's up very recently that we should talk about. I think given the current government policy structures around FAME, which are set up to incentivize bigger and bigger battery packs, I think we are going into a place where all OEs will end up building in bigger batteries, then actually I think is long-term viable for the market. I think we're going to see more and more 3.5, 4.5 kilowatt hour battery packs on scooters that will be able to give real world ranges of 110, 130, 150, 160 kilometers. And that's fantastic. Customers are going to love it. So in a way, I don't think range anxiety is going to be a real problem, because I've yet to meet a single customer who drives more than 100 kilometers on on an average day, pretty much ever, right? And with the real world ranges exceeding that and certified ranges hitting 180 and 200 kilometers, yeah, range anxiety in the city is going to be a very, very, very small issue. But I also want to call out the fact that I think this is like being on steroids. I don't think such large battery packs are necessarily viable. Now, we may be surprised by technology, but given what we know today, there's a very good chance, like we're literally hitting, like even if you scale down battery prices down to the cost of the metals inside them, it still will likely not be viable to support 4.5 kilowatt hour battery packs on scooters forever. So as much as the market incentivizes us to build it and we'll all build them, I do feel that we have a solution that look like a solution for a short time, but probably won't be.
Okay.
We will have to build charging networks, we'll have to build stations, because even though customers may not seem like they desperately need them in the next couple of years, the market is going to reverse very quickly.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, yeah, Avdesh, over to you.
Yeah, so I think Tarun has summed it up nicely. What I would like to add that this range anxiety is not to be seen purely from the driving range of a particular battery, because what I believe that it is more from the psychological side as well, because see, particularly on the four-wheeler segment, most of the time it is not necessary that the vehicles is used only for the intra-city, but then we tend to travel intercity as well, and there it is important that now most of the vehicles are coming with 200 plus kilometer range, which is good enough, I would say, as long as it is supported by a good charging network. Because if they have a charging network, obviously after 200 kilometer everybody takes a small break and they have enough time to recharge themselves as well as to recharge the battery as well if they have the network. And this is again very, very important, because that please also keep in mind that India is developing very fast, and infrastructure is really taking off very fast. And the more we build a good quality highways, good quality roads, the people will have a tendency to drive more and more, and that will require a longer range, and especially the charging infrastructure along those highways and those roads. So that is to be also seen from the range anxiety point of view. Not only that, how much kilometer it gives, whether we have the sufficient infrastructure which can help us take break and recharge both vehicle as well as ourselves.
Fair point. Fair point. Diego and Swadesh, we come from an IC engine, and we still are, with IC engines where both us and our dealers had a constant source of revenue, especially on parts and servicing of IC engines. What is going to be the impact on dealerships, and how will they change, and our own revenues and profitability, because IC engines will keep probably as a proportion coming down, and therefore the spare parts and service business will have to be reinvented. Diego, over to you, and then Swadesh.
Definitely it's very true question, in the sense that it is clear that the transition to electric mobility will affect our dealership network at a larger extent. Not only in terms of service, spare parts sales, but also in terms of preparation and training on proposing and catering to the needs of customer from the inquiry point of view, from the sales point of view, from the retail finance and consumer finance point of view. So for sure, there must be also a shift in mentality and mindset of dealer in respect to this new kind of mobility. I think in perspective, whoever is willing to take this challenge in a smart way, I think that instead of being a hit on their source of revenues, can be also a factor opportunity. I make an example. We are talking about electric in two solutions, one with fixed battery and the other one is battery swap. In the second solution, definitely battery swap, the battery is seen as a service and not anymore as an asset that is sold along with the vehicle. So from this point of view, if dealer is willing to contribute in the source of revenue related to the business of battery as a service, definitely that can be an additional source of revenues for all of them. So I think that there will be a requirement of a shift of mindset from business entrepreneurship point of view, but if our network is willing to take this challenge positively and decide to invest in the future, I think that there will be no hit in revenue, but instead new opportunities.
Okay, fair enough. That will help dealerships to think through as well. Swadesh, any comments?
Yeah, I think I agree with Diego that the whole industry is going through a change, and I think our dealer friends are also excited about this. We just see the number of queries which keep coming to us when are we going live with electric, and they have gone through their own changes in the past. I think when digital platforms started coming in and providing sales and services through digital platforms, I think a lot of them we have seen within our dealer network, they have accepted the change. They have come forward, gone through training and really taken up that change. And we believe that the same will happen when we move towards whether EV or other forms of sustainable mobility. And as Diego said, right, what comes with EV, it being a connected, smart, electronic mobility, that there are a lot of other offerings which we are providing to the customer in terms of connectivity, in terms of map, in terms of subscription, in terms of sharing options for their scooters or other vehicles. So a lot of changes in the ownership, usership, and services which is going to come, not just the battery service, but also from the connectivity features and usership and ownership point of view. So I think there is a lot of opportunities for dealers to adopt new services which will be rolled out along with EV and become part of that offering, and really have these alternate channels of revenue. So I feel that they are geared up for this change, and we will take them along as we go.
Yeah, that will be very important for us to do that. A question from Mr. Murli Gopalakrishnan, and he says that, maybe we can start with Diego and then move to Swadesh and Avdesh, that considering the life of a conventional EV two-wheeler is on an average around 12 to 15 years, what would be the life of an EV two-wheeler discounting the life of the battery? He says, my other comment is that considering the Indian psyche of a resaleable value of a two-wheeler, what is the outlook on the resale value of an EV two-wheeler? Any comments? So Diego, over to you, and then Swadesh, then Tarun. Avdesh, I'll come back with another question for you.
Honestly, I do not see a reason why the life cycle of a scooter, of a three-wheeler in a EV solution should be different from a conventional IC. Basically, we have to be realistic in saying that most of us are using the same kind of platform that I use for ICE, also for converting to electric. But also, if you think about developing a new platform, anyway, this is designed having in mind the traditional, how to say, standard and specification that are used for ICE, because these are suitable for homologation, for running on Indian road, whatever it is. So I do not see, honestly, a reason why there should be difference in terms of life cycle. Instead, I think that for sure, powertrain itself is less stressed respect to an ICE, because the level of vibration and the age definitely are very less. So instead of, I think that in terms of vehicle should be more or less the same, because it's more solicited by the, how to say, the challenges coming from the road. The powertrain definitely life cycle will be higher because it's less stress due to vibration and whatever. So in a nutshell, this is what I think we can answer for this question.
Okay, Swadesh.
Yeah, I think if at all there are lesser moving parts and lesser need for maintenance. So I think overall we should definitely be at least, if not more, on the life cycle if you remove the battery out of the equation. So I totally agree with Diego. I think the industry is figuring out what is the resale value, because right now everything is sold with the battery. So I think when people are trying to upgrade, they need to figure out the resale value, and that's why a lot of private and public banks are not supporting financing, because they are worrying about what is the actual resale value of this. I think we have certain models we are developing, and we would love to partner with the other players to sort of help industry bodies and government sort of standardize some of these on the resale value, because that will sort of feed into better financing. But in terms of the life cycle, I think if it should be equal, if not better, if you remove the battery.
Okay, that's heartening to note. That is heartening to note. Tarun, your thoughts?
Yeah, we've not much to add. Completely agree. Electric vehicles outside the battery will definitely have a better life. Fewer moving components, fewer vibrations, fewer heat generated. It all adds up to just an overall better life. And resale value, I believe resale value will end up holding better because of the same reason. If your vehicle has lesser vibrations, it'll just degrade less than mechanically. Electrically, your motors are not going to drop efficiencies after, like, unlike petrol engines where you do see issues of oh, when I bought this was 55 kilometers per liter, but now it gives me something like 35. So the customer always assumes that almost never happens with electrical motor. And batteries, what we're trying to see in field is that they're lasting way longer than what all of us originally anticipated.
Sure.
So we used to think batteries will have life for 3-4 years, maybe 5 years. They're looking like more like 8 years now. So a typical ownership transfer of about 4-5 years, I think batteries are going to be holding up really well. So I just think resale values will hold up better than ICE vehicles.
Very interesting. Very counterintuitive, which is good. Which is good. So Avdesh, one ask from the government to boost EV vehicle demand. No, I would say more charging infrastructure facilitation.
Okay, so I think that would be that if government can create, the central government I'm referring here, if the central government can create a framework, a common framework, which can be used by all the state governments for allocating the public space to the charge operators, public and the private entities. That will be something which will really boost deployment of the public charging.
Okay. Good. I'm out of time, but I'm going to take one sentence each from all our colleagues, starting with you, Diego. One sentence on just your closing comments.
But sentence is that I think 2022 will be the focus year for transition to electric for the entire industry. So I think that what we are going to see next year definitely will guide us for the next decade.
Okay, great. 2022 is a year of transition. Tarun.
Difficult to give one comment. I'll just stick to the same thing. I think we're going to be seeing the biggest capacity creation in the last few decades with electric. And the difference is last time the industry had like 30-40 years to build capacities gradually out. This exponential replacement and introduction is going to, I think, fairly shock the system. I think it's going to be a fun decade.
Okay, and you thought of it in 2012, so it's almost a decade over, and now the next decade is going to be very exciting. Swadesh, one sentence.
Yeah, I'm with the panel. I think this year and this decade is going to be about fast traction, about scale, about this becoming a no-brainer option for customers against the ICE vehicles. And I think what we definitely need to do, as I also mentioned earlier, definitely for this decade to pan out that way, build on the talent and also solve for the, as Avdesh mentioned, the perception against range anxiety, which is just having the option of people to charge or swap. And I actually specifically mentioned both because I think for a large country like India and some of the other emerging markets, I think both are extremely viable options and should be looked at for scaling. So yeah, with that, I'm very, very excited about what is ahead of us in this year and this decade.
Okay, great. Yeah, it is exciting. Avdesh, one sentence.
So the public charging will be playing an important role, especially considering the fact that we are moving very fast pace on the renewable energy capacity. So the renewable energy and electric vehicle is complementary to each other, and that's where the public charging will play a very important role.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you very much. Wonderful discussion. Wonderful to have you with us. Tarun, Diego, Swadesh, Avdesh, thank you very much for giving us insights. And I think, I'm sure we'll be meeting again and again with the rapidity of change that is taking place. I also want to thank the viewers, the audience. Thank you very much. This is an exciting decade, as has been said. And please remain tuned in. I'm sure many of you are participating in the journey of the disruption of the automobile industry. And I also wanted to thank CII for putting all this together, the Secretariat as well. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.